You know, man, when I first picked up Evil West, I remembered when it came out, and I was actually not too interested in the game. I didn't really get the sense or the spark of genius from the product, and I was like, okay, it's just another freaking game. It came out, and it's not really that impressive. But as we've been going through this age of wokeness with modern products, modern storytelling, I decided to give Evil West an actual chance because I never really picked it up when it first came out. I only saw it and I was like, okay. And so recently we played it and I was like, okay, it's worth giving it a shot. Here's something I have to say about the game for one. It starts out pretty okay. I like the main character, Jesse Rentier. He's just a through and through masculine kind of guy. Something that we're heavily lacking nowadays in modern games and modern products. Now, of course, we have to get the ESG in. So he has a sidekick who I think his name is Gravenor or whatever, Gravener. Anyways, it's a black guy. And, they both look masculine, and their dialogue between each other is pretty good. Now, again, it's so stupid that, this is set in the Wild West, this game, and for some reason we have to have a white guy and a black guy, okay? It can't just be a bunch of white dudes, can't just be two white dudes, whatever. We have to throw in a random freaking black dude so that we can fulfill the ESG, the diversity scorecard. I'm so sick and tired of this trash. Again, love of God, this time era that the game's supposed to be set in is not supposed to just have really any black people. And this is what I'm so sick and tired of, is that we can't just have white games anymore. We can't just have white characters and white stories. For some reason, we have to make everything brave, beautiful, and diverse. And if we don't, then someone's gonna clutch their pearls and they're going to have a freaking hysterical episode. So, that alone is stupid. I'm freaking fed up with it, but whatever. At least the black character, I like him. He's pretty alright. He's a good character, and I enjoy his lines. I enjoy what he has to say when he's on screen. So, overall, the execution of his character is good. Again, I like Jesse Rentier, the main character. And something that's really great about this game, man, is that first and foremost, when you look at the dudes, it's like, oh wow, these guys are actually masculine men. These guys, they don't look like freaking pansies. They kind of talk a little bit gruff. You believe that they are in the line of work and that they live the lives as they do.
What's this? Catering? Why, I have no idea what you... That big shiny ball out there is no good for your sensitive skin.
The sun's not to know what they'll do to me.
Fun game. Let's test that theory.
No, Richard, stop! Belmontville! The gathering's in Belmontville!
Excellent choice, Chester. And since you're feeling so damn helpful, we're gonna be needing a guide. Consider it a promotion. Dipshit.
Belmontville's a long way from the manor. We're on a clock here.
We've been hunting Debano for 3 months. What's another few hours?
Have it your way. But your father's gonna have your ass as an ashtray if we don't make that presentation.
You're retired. What's he gonna do? Fire you?
And, it's very interesting, though, right, that they make this ESG decision. And when you look at a lot of the other characters in the game, because there's a bunch of other dudes, I think, a part of the same institution as Jesse, because they're vampire hunters is what they are. You'll notice that a lot of the dudes are white, so okay, that's good. And they all look like masculine men from that respective time era, right? The kind of Wild West era. So what, that's like 1800s-ish. So I definitely appreciated that. I definitely liked it there. Now, of course, when I'm playing the game, I'm like, bro, is there going to be a freaking bait and switch? Is there going to be a sleight of hand that goes on here? And yes, there is. There's a freaking woman that's a doctor in this game, which obviously she should have been a man, and she behaves like a man. She thinks like a man. She's not attractive. Love of God. Because I was like, the men in this game, they look really masculine. I mean, they just look like dudes. They just look like what you would expect. They are they're okay looking, right? They're decently attractive. So they didn't make these like horrible mongrel men. They are all very masculine for the most part. They're well built, all that stuff. So you're like, okay, that's cool and that's good. We got genuine masculinity in a story and a game. And the writing, by the way, is relatively good. I would say overwhelmingly it's good. See, until they get woke with it, that's it. But, once they did that, I completely checked out. I was so disinterested by the story, by the characters. It completely threw me out the second they started forcing in this freaking feminist biatch and just the whole tapestry surrounding it. Of course, we have to have this one dude that's kind of on our side, but he's supposed to be a weasel kind of guy, a piece of trash. And it's like, I'm getting sick and tired, by the way, how you have to have a male character that's a weasel, which I get it. There's actual dudes who are freaking weasels and they suck and all that stuff. And they'll backstab you the second they get the chance and all that. But like, and can we just have a story where like all of the dudes are not at odds with each other? Or you know what, if this guy's character was better written, I forget the character's name, if he was better written, then fine. But it felt so generic, right? It felt like, okay, yeah, the freaking typical piece of trash dude that no one likes. He's this guy that's really contemptible, and how the other characters receive him is contemptible. All right, whatever. But I'm just sick and tired of it, because it's like, can we just not have a story where, let's just say that all the dudes are, let's say, honorable, mostly noble? I don't know. It's such a freaking modern day fad right now that's been going on, where we always have to have a piece of trash character. There always has to be the freaking weasel, the freaking snake. And it's like, well, maybe sometimes, by the way, you can have a freaking villain, a bad guy, or I don't even know if the guy, he's kind of intended to be a villain, isn't he? But like, you can always have characters, good guys, neutral guys, bad guys, and they don't always have to be some kind of scummy piece of trash dude. Because like, here's the other thing, they never do this with women. They always want to make a freaking dude, some male character, they want to make him a freaking piece of scum of the earth. They never do it. Very interesting, they never do it with women. Instead, they always have to make women upstanding. They're just like the men in some way, shape, or form. They're always these pillars of the community. But then for some reason, we have to always throw in a male character who is not the pillar of the community. Okay. I mean, again, it's just so clear where their bias is. It's like, well, we think some men are good, but also we want to explicitly say that some men are just either really bad or just do people I don't like personally as the writer. Okay. But we never get stories nowadays or anymore or whatever. I mean, really, almost at all in general, we never get stories where you have women that are just a complete piece of trash. They're scumbags. They do things that are just absolutely horrid. For some reason, we just always want to overlook this, and we never want to make a piece of trash female character. And I'm not even really like begging for that, but let's just face it, there are stories where it's natural to have that kind of character, and for some reason, they always have to make women like understandable, or, oh, feel sorry for her, you gotta be sympathetic, or whatever, something associated or similar. Again, there's never piece of trash female characters, and so clear that she's a piece of trash, we always believe that only men can be pieces of trash, and that's the real issue here. Anyways, you have the female doctor chick, and she's just basically a man. Think of like a really nerdy but stoic Eugene, right? The kind of stoic male doctor archetype who is like a German doctor, right? Like this very just logical, cerebral kind of guy. And they made it a freaking woman, and you're like, huh? What is going on here? All right, so a female doctor, bro. And she's not very attractive.
Doc, we need help.
Lewis, Protocol Epsilon. Sit down and roll up your sleeve.
This is so dude, women are not doctors. Women are not doctors. By majority, men are doctors, and men are built for being doctors. Ugh. You couldn't give me a sexy female? You couldn't give me a woman that's a 10 out of 10? I mean, as I remember, in both Shadow Warrior games, they had sexy women in those two games. Chicks that you look at and you're like, I want to smash. I don't know, man. For some reason, we just don't. They couldn't at least, right? I would at least excuse it if they made the female doctor sexy, okay? Gave her this crazy man, that's what we would have gotten 15 years ago in older games. And then I think she even has like a half-Asian son, which again, ESG. It's so clear that they're just trying to force in diversity, but whatever, man. It's just so clear that they were going for slight elements of modernity. And again, this woman, she's not attractive. She's not sexualized. I mean, literally, like, if you want to give me a freaking female doctor in a game that's supposed to be a man, but instead you want to make it a woman, then fine, okay? Then give me a freaking busty freaking blonde. She's got, right, instead of having a button-up shirt, she has it freaking unbuttoned that you can see these amazing, enormous freaking breasts within this amazing cleavage. Okay, then fine. If you give me a sexy, blue eyes, blonde hair, figurely busty doctor chick, then I'm like, wow, this game's freaking amazing, right? But that was the thing. I was like, okay, the men are very masculine. They look very masculine. The way that they communicate sounds like men, has grit, has personality. That's good. But I was like, okay, but what are the women? What are they going to look like? Are they going to look traditional? Are they going to look appealing? And of course, again, the doctor chick, very unattractive. Then we get to the other women in the game and they basically, I'm going to be honest, they freaking look like dudes in dresses. Who the frick is this biatch? That's a woman in this game? Hold on, give me a better look. No. Why does she have face paint on? No, I'm not impressed with the way the women look. Nope. What about this chick? She's obviously supposed to stand out. Nope, that's not working, bro. Is that a man? The frick are you? Nah, man. They could have done better with the women. Look at this. Hold on. Her face is okay. Yeah, she looks a little bit better than the other women. Yeah, but then this chick, oh, that face is not working. Love of God. I mean, they have freaking masculine nose lines. There's something about the way that they're built. I'm kind of like, you know what? That doesn't exactly look like how a woman should look. They put like a bunch of makeup too, like clown makeup almost, on the women. And I was like, what? It's like it's like you guys have like a baseline character model and it's a man, and then you randomly decided, okay, well, let's try to make women. So then they grab the face of the men in the game, or like the base model of male character faces in the game, and then they put it on the female characters. They tried to slim it up a little bit, make them look a little bit more feminine, and then slap clown makeup on them, and they were like, that's a chick. Oh my gosh, what the frick? I mean, it did not look good, bro. When we got to that part, I was like, okay. You know, like, what? Was there just not enough budget to make women? I don't know. The women are not impressive. Let's just put it at that. They look like freaking male harlots. What is going on? It's a homosexual gay bar! Anyways, the gameplay is cool. I enjoy how by the way, the gameplay works terrifically on controller. I mean, they make usage out of every single button. There's a weapon and there's a tool, there's a device tied to every single button on the controller. The game feels great. You've got a way to utilize your pistol and to rapid fire it, and it's really good. It's fluid. It feels great because the game is supposed to be largely centered around melee combat, but they find a terrific way to throw in all of the ranged combat very dynamically with the melee. So you'll be going between punching an enemy to rapid firing your revolver, then to utilizing your rifle to do precision shots, and it's just really well done, really well made. You have a lot of upgrades that you can get for your weapons that makes them even more dynamic, more fluid, more fun. You've got a lot of good combos, ways to knock up an enemy into the air and fire at them, punch them, whatever, ways to chain them that way. You have ways that you have a block, you have this electrical shield that's really cool. You can pull enemies towards yourself or dash towards them, and then you can do this flurry attack on them. You know, you've got some other devices. You can do ground slams with an electrical shockwave ability. You've got this one other ability that's kind of like this pulse that stuns enemies all around you. So you've got all kinds of things that you can do. And again, you can knock up enemies and smash them into the environment. Well, specific locations in the environment in general, but also specific destructibles that gives you an insta kill. So that's really cool. There's all kinds of dynamics that you can utilize within the combat. Now, in a weird way though, the combat sometimes feels a little bit too stiff, a little bit too stale. It feels like you're supposed to crutch on the stun mechanic with your stun shield once you get that. I like the mechanic, but it becomes rather clear that that is a huge combat mechanic for the game, is your stun shield. So zapping towards an enemy or pulling them in towards you where they're in a stunned electrical state, and you can then flurry attack them. Let's just face it, that's the best way to fight most enemies. Well, when you're flurry attacking every single enemy in the game over and over again, it gets to the point where you're trying to avoid utilizing that ability. So then that becomes an issue, is that okay, you're not giving enough viable fighting methods for all the other combat styles, I would argue. Oh yeah, and by the way, you also have a sawed-off shotgun that you can use on a cooldown, which is roughly pretty good. The enemies are also decently made, nothing too crazy, but they're alright. And again, you know, my only criticism with all this is that I do wish there were more melee combos that you could access, because there's just something about it. It's like the melee could be a little bit better. It just feels like I can't really do that much, or I can't swing that many attacks. I would like to have a little bit more variability with the melee, because it does feel like the melee itself is very bare bones. And again, you have to crutch onto the freaking electrical stunning ability that you have in the game. We went through about the first 5 or 4 hours it is of the game. I think it was 4 hours, and I don't know if it gets any better, but all I can say is that there does come a point where it just feels like you're fighting these enemies. They feel like bullet sponges, punching bags. Literally, they feel like punching bags, bullet sponges. You're just throwing a bunch of attacks into them. You're not doing that much damage, and it's like, okay, bro, whoa. We're fighting these enemies for way too long. They should be squishier. The combat really starts to feel grating the more that you're just doing the same stuff. And the fact that these enemies are so tanky while you're doing some really repetitive combos, that's where some of the problems start to stack up. I mean, I think as I remember, a really good game for combos and attack styles was Devil May Cry 5. Now, my huge issue with that game, it was very scarce on content, but regardless, the combat was really good, really fluid. There's a lot of ways to attack enemies, and it never really feels stale, you know? So I think that this game could have definitely improved by having more melee variants in your arsenal and with your toolkit, but let's just face it, this game has way more variability than a lot of other games out there. And maybe I wouldn't have anything to criticize here if the enemies were just a little bit squishier, like maybe a third of their health were reduced, okay? Something about it, again, it's just way too tanky. Every single enemy that you're fighting, and the combat is not dynamic enough, and that's the big issue there. The combat is not dynamic enough for you to be fighting tanky enemies. If it were more dynamic, let's say like God of War dynamic, 2016, or wait, was it 2018? I forget. Whatever, the first reboot God of War game, that combat style is roughly and largely, it's pretty repetitive, but at the same time, you have so many things in your arsenal and your toolkit that it keeps it interesting and fluid. And so that's the thing with this game. I love how many tools and weapon choices that they give you. They make use out of your entire button map. That's really cool. I mean, again, like, that's so cool, bro. The fact that they look at the controller that you're playing with and they're like, how can we utilize every single button? That is cool. And they give the proper and the correct variances to all of your attacks. That's great. Again, my main criticism is there just needs to be more variability for melee. That's it. That's all I have to say. Outside of that, the gameplay is good. The enemies that you fight are good. The only main thing that made me get a little bit tired playing the game was just the fact that the enemies are so tanky. You're doing the same things over and over, right? When you fight like 5 different enemies and you're zapping them all towards you, and then you're doing your flurry attack over and over and over again, and then you're just desperately looking for new ways to kill them, even though the flurry attack is the best way and the fastest, and that's why you want to do it. When you're cleaving through in such a slow manner so many of these enemies, bro, yeah, it gets a little bit annoying. But regardless, should you pick up the game? Is it fun? For one, I really appreciate that we have masculine male characters for once in a game. Largely, the game is not woke. Again, a little bit of multiracial characters that are completely unnecessary. Okay. We also have a little bit of feminism, a feminist character, completely unnecessary, but okay. For the large part though, the men are all masculine. They speak to each other in a masculine manner, right? Jesse Rentier, his father in the game, he speaks to Jesse very stern and very bluntly. He even loses his temper on Jesse for a good reason in the story, which is that he has certain expectations of his son, and his son's like, I don't want to do that, which is understandable from Jesse's perspective. It's like, okay, I like that there's this dynamic where his father quickly loses his temper on his son because they've had this conversation before. They have this fundamental disagreement.
Gravener's with you?
He sends his regards. He's afraid you'll try and talk him out of retirement again.
I don't believe either of us want that.
You know he did risk his life to get this for you.
That's Harrow's trinket. I'm sure you'll both be rewarded accordingly.
Edgar isn't some civilian looking for a medal. This is all he knows. Your institute saw to that.
My institute? This isn't about Agent Gravener, Jesse. We are on the cusp of great progress, great change. Today's presentation is of critical importance to the family. After which...
Edgar is family.
After which, I expect you to step up to your duties here at the Manor.
With all due respect, Director, I am a field agent, not a paper pusher.
You're a rentier!
Why must you always make me spoon-feed these things to you, Jesse? There are bigger things at work here than running around in caves slaying beasts. I do believe someday soon you will see it my way. And if you don't, it's my responsibility to force that change. Now, leave me be. I must prepare for the presentation. And send someone in here to clean up this mess.
You understand both characters and where they're coming from, right? I think his father wants him to take ownership over his homestead, over his property, and I think also the institution of the vampire hunters. But at the same time, Jesse wants to be his own man. He wants to do whatever he wants. He doesn't want to own property. He just wants to go out, be a soldier, and fight, okay? I respect both of their perspectives, and what I also like is that you have something that is lacking nowadays in a lot of modern characters, a lot of modern writing, which is what? Interpersonal complexity, because as much as his father loses his temper on Jesse, he quickly buttons up after losing his temper, recomposes himself, and he's like, okay, whatever, I've got to go give a presentation, and he's back to being a stoic man. So he only embodies his persona, his father does, and really most of the characters, they only embody their persona as is necessary for the situation that they're being dealt in the story. So this just shows a much more dynamic personality to the characters, which is a lot more realistic when we regard it towards real life. Because, you know, real people, right, they have moments where they lose their temper. Let's say let's say you're a musician and you're yelling, you're arguing with your manager, and you feel like they scammed you or they're skimming the deal. But then you have to go right back out on stage and you have to give a performance, and you quickly switch the expression of your ego. And that's something that goes on in real life. You know, you have some people, they don't have really any personality. They're not defined by anything, but anybody that actually has an ego, anybody that actually has an identity that they are personified by in their life, they're going to speak in different ways to different people, even in the split moment of certain seconds in the same location, because, right, you're in a situation that calls for a dynamic alteration of your personality. Okay, so right, 1 second you're friendly, 1 second you're very combative, that kind of thing. And that's what they do for the writing of these characters, which is something, again, we don't have that in modern writing. We don't have authentically human characters, is what we don't have. So I do appreciate that element of the writing of the characters and of the storytelling. Outside of that, I also have to mention this other thing, right? We have this one bad guy, which I would say, by the way, the voice actors, they do a great job in this game. I do like the voice actors. But you have this guy, and he's a vampire dude, evil guy. He's a lesser vampire, but apparently he has this daughter. And his daughter, I think he dies. I think you kill him as Jesse.
Enough. Your lines thirst for all hard war with the humans endangers us all. Peter Navano. Without the sheep.
The wolves go hungry, yes. But the day is coming when the sheep will outwit the wolves. Haven't you been watching, brother? The humans have
What's with the
harnessed
ugly
power
girl?
of steam and lightning, and they grow mighty. If our hubris allows us to grow fat and lazy in the shadows, they will soon have the power to hunt us down like dogs.
And so you propose war.
What is her
War
deal?
suggests there
Why is
is
she
a
angry?
chance we might lose. I propose we strike with my new asset.
Oh,
We can
good. The
control
girl that's the
change.
key to everything.
Reclaim the Sanguisuja's rightful place at the top of the food chain.
Control the change. Are you mad? Even suggesting such a thing is blasphemy.
Dominic, brother, these are blasphemous times. While my methods may very well be at variance with our tradition, I can tell you one thing. If we don't adapt, we will perish.
Enough. I will not allow you and your bastard breed to lead us into annihilation.
Why is it a female? Because feminism.
A crime of conspiracy against your own kind. I sentence you and your line to the true death.
I told you, Father. They wouldn't listen.
We had to try, Felicity Mikata. Our work
Good
will
voice
be a lot
acting.
easier if we can help them understand.
Good casting.
Can't.
We force them to!
Hot guy stuff. And you have this like higher kind of like Illuminati circle of vampires. So the higher order vampires that have greater power than this guy. But for whatever reason, this guy, he has a daughter, basically the girl that's the key to everything. You know that mother effing trope that we keep on seeing in freaking film and gaming? Yeah, well, basically Nayrel, okay, it's not really Nayrel, but you have this, she's decently well written, but you have this little girl, right? Kind of like a horror archetype little girl who is emotionally cold, but she's supposed to be this girl that's a key to everything for one, as this, I guess, super mega vampire girl boss. She just has these massive powers that she's born with. She's automatically, like every female character, especially the girl that's the key to everything, every character like this, they always just have their powers and that's it. They're always just great at everything. Anyway, she's mega super powerful. That's supposed to be the big deal about her. And, you know, again, it's another layer of feminism within the game. We have to make a random female have the power and presence of either a man, or she just has to be as powerful as the men surrounding her. Something like that. We have to do something though to just make women constantly relevant and possess masculine frames of value. And that's what they do with this character. But regardless of that fact, I think that the voice actress does a good job. I think that the execution of her character was well done. And I also think that the writing for her dialogue and the way that she moves through the worlds of Evil West, I think it's largely acceptable. Again, it is feminism. You gotta pay attention to this, man. Again, why is this not a little boy? They clearly went out of their way. Has to be a little girl, but fine, whatever. At least they did effective writing for her character. I'm not saying it's anything crazy. I'm just saying that it's largely acceptable. It's not laughably bad and it's not mega woke, but it is feminist. Just barely. It's acceptable just enough to not make you completely despise this character. But I keep on noticing this trend where we want to keep on making these really powerful females, right? Diablo 4 with Lilith, for instance. And then we have to do this with this chick, and then again, just go down the list. We keep on doing this. It's just getting tiring, bro. And you know these are ideological decisions. You know that it's not this way because, oh, that's what makes for a good story. That's just a good idea for the story, conceptually speaking. No, they're doing this because they have to service to politics. But let's just face it, these guys, these developers, I think I forget their name, they do a good job and they're largely non-woke, so I have to give it to them with that. And again, they made one of the few games that we're seeing today where we have masculine characters, masculine dialogue. Nobody's afraid of each other's feelings. They don't beat around the bush. They say what they mean and they mean what they say. So I'm happy with that. It's not a soy boy game. It's not soy boy characters by and large. There is one soy boy character, but whatever. Anyways, man, it's worth it. And I would say give the game a shot.